I want to do another bit of a conversation about shame, because shame is supremely powerful. It's one of those emotions which has a magnetic draw to it and which defines your entire sense of self. So it defines the experience that you have when you engage with the world. Yeah, it dictates the veil through which you experience life, and it dictates the relationship that you have with yourself. And because there's an element of taboo about shame, so people don't really talk about it. So there's something quite releasing. Now, when I'm doing a hypnotherapy session with someone, what I do when it comes to shame is regression. Because what happens is if we consider that what we think we are today, the story by which we hang the hooks of our identity, is a created narrative which we compound over time, that starts with an initial experience, the first one that we can consciously become aware of once consciousness becomes a thing, and which we then start to see the future events, the future understandings in the light of, and that continues and continues and continues. So what we end up with today as this sense of I, it's like a heavily weighted experiential conclusion that begins with these earlier processes, these earlier experiences, and then subsequent ones have a reducing impact, but could potentially shift that. So it's a little bit like the ripples when you throw a stone in the stream. So in hypnotherapy, what I'll do is, if someone comes with a complaint, which is a shame-based feeling, then you exaggerate the feeling. You go back in time to the first time that you ever felt that feeling. You keep on going back until you get to the one where it's like, what on earth is this sort of feeling? And then you examine that feeling. In hypnosis, so effectively you're healing your childhood, you're healing your conceptual thought processes that have caused you to get stuck with these fixed ideas at a later date. Now, I can't do that on a video. The reason I can't do that on a video is because the whole hypnotherapy process is collaborative, okay? These can be quite stressful feelings, so therefore I have to deal with what emerges with the individual. So therefore, much as though I would love to, I am not going to demonstrate guiding you through a regressive process on YouTube as a one-sided affair, because it's not fair on you as the individual. However, what I can do is explain some of the principles underneath it, because then you can sit with yourself when you have a quiet moment and you can start to chew on these issues. Okay? So the shame, as I say, tends to be perceived at a very early age and then compounded in the future by events that compound it. And the events that disagree with it, most of the time we tend to flick them away and ignore them, unless it's something truly, truly profound that kind of makes you question the entire foundation of the shame. Okay? So with this knowledge in mind, if we consider that everything that we think we are is a story that we have created through these chance occurrences. So what we thought was a fixed idea, we can start to move like a rusty hinge. Yeah, you lubricate the hinge and you start to move it. And the more you chew on it, the more you consider it, the more fluid it can become. So how can you do that, right? A supremely powerful way of doing this is by talking about your shame, because shame has this magnetic energy to it. It is taboo, it is potentially toxic, it's dangerous to express, and so people tend not to express it. When you express it, sometimes the response of other people could knock you over with a feather, because it is so unexpected, So what you think is terrible, embarrassing, whatever it may be, somebody else may think of as profoundly living, as having an experience to life that they simply can't compare. So there's a whole variety of unexpected responses that a group of individuals could come up with that can literally perforate your foundations. of shame. That's one way to do it. So you simply talk about it with other people, which is uncomfortable. But if you find a group of people or an individual who themselves is not shame-based, okay, so you don't want to do this with someone who might potentially want to soothe their own shame by humiliating other. Yeah, you want to find someone who is cleansed of that, who is prepared to open themselves up to a thought process which is potentially uncomfortable for them too, and evaluate it fairly. Well, then it might blow your mind. Yeah, so that's one way. Another way that you can do completely on your own is to notice the uncomfortable feelings that come up from time to time that may or may not lead you towards a compulsive habit, yeah, a sort of a self-soothing, self-stroking sort of compensation. So if you consider all of those self-soothing strategies as symptoms, they're not the problem in themselves, but they're a solution that kind of works a little bit when a bad feeling or a bad thought comes up. The likelihood is that there is a shame-based element to that bad feeling, that bad thought, and it's so uncomfortable that you want to stroke it away somehow. Yeah? So when you notice those feelings, they might just make you want to run away from them. They might make you want to, go and eat a biscuit or an ice cream or do some shopping or Lord knows what, yeah, to kind of get you out of that thought process. Or they might just make you feel a bit icky and you don't know what to do with it. When you've got a moment later in the day, find a moment when you can be on your own, where you can close the door and you can guide yourself into a quiet state. It doesn't have to be a hypnotic state, just a calm, quiet state of curious unknowing, let's say. And then bring up that feeling and just think to yourself, now, when was the last time that I felt that feeling? And keep going back with, you're looking for scenes, situations, or events that have happened in the past that have got everything to do with this feeling. And the chances are you'll come up with quite a few. So keep going back until you get to maybe not the first one, don't set yourself up with the objective of finding the first one, but an early one, let's say, where you learn something, where something painful was concluded. And then ask yourself about everything that happened in that situation. What did you know at the time? What power did you have at that moment? To what extent was there an authority figure there which dictated your response? Because the whole purpose of this is to come to the conclusion that, what I thought I knew I didn't know. At that time, I had very little choice. I came to a protective conclusion, but today I have agency. Today I have choice. Today I have lived through all of these extra experiences that can lead me to different conclusions. So what was basically at the back of your mind that was just running on autopilot, you're bringing back up to consciousness to re-look at, yeah, to reconsider. And then once you've kind of gone, while you're there, bathe that little individual in love, bathe them in kindness, forgive them, look yourself in the mirror, say, you're not as bad as I thought, something like that. Ask yourself, if I truly, truly loved myself, what would I need to tell myself in this moment? And then share that with that younger you. Because it comes from you, right? It's all things that you already know. It's not being directed to a very, very important part of you that needs it. By doing this, you integrate. You kind of rebuild your self-esteem. I think that's the word I'm looking for. You rebuild your sense of what it is that you are. You reintegrate these pain points and you free them to then start the journey of personal development again. Do that enough times, you'll end up your best friend. Do that enough times, you'll look at yourself in a new, freer, stronger way. You'll give yourself gifts that you didn't know were possible. So in the past, You came to conclusions that were led by your circumstances at those times, that were led by the system within which you existed, the rules, the policies and procedures of the system in which you existed. But today is different. Today you've come through a lot. You are wiser, you are more knowledgeable, you have more agency, you have more power. So your conclusions can be different. So the only thing you need to do is bring back what was a stuck idea and play with it, look at it, manhandle it in a different way. Move forward today, being who you are today, rather than living in the reflected light of that prior shame. I'm going to shut up on that. All right. Thanks for watching. I hope that's of interest. If it is, let me know. Yeah, because shame is a powerful, powerful thing. And talking about it can be therapeutic in itself. All right. Cheers. Bye.